In a season full of ups and downs, more downs than ups, Ronel Blanco has been an absolute steadying force in this starting rotation. As pitchers have gone down with injury, Ronel Blanco has excelled on the mound in Major League Baseball.
Jainer Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett Htown Wheelhouse Chancey.
Thank y'all for tuning in for this special edition of Locked On Astros featuring Ronel Blanco, not the lone bright spot, but one of the brightest and most consistent spots on this team. Look, this team has been through its ups and downs, and it's been a lot more down than up. And with just getting over 500 nearing the All-Star break, it's territory that the Astros haven't seen in a long time, off to their worst start this year since the late 60s. I mean, this team has really had every reason to throw in the towel, has every reason to say, you know what, let's focus on next year. But they continue to grind. And last year in 2023, we remember JP France was a steadying force when they were having struggles. JP France was a surprise. Unfortunately, he's down and he is actually having shoulder surgery, so he's completely out. You have JP France down. You have Urquidy down, obviously. You have Christian Javier down. And then we still have no timetable return for Justin Verlander. I don't anticipate hearing about him coming back until after the All-Star break and playing it safe. But Ronel Blanco's 2024 is defined by many things. And I had the opportunity to attend his no-hitter. He threw 105 pitches in that game. And then after that, he would basically go on to have a streak of 44 outs before allowing a hit, in the longest streak dating back to 1893. That is when baseball established the 60 feet 6 inches distance from the mound to the plate. So to say that Ronel Blanco's season has been good would be an understatement. It's been historic. And prior to Wednesday's start in Toronto, he sports an 8-3 record, a 2.49 ERA, and a team high 90 1/3 innings pitched. Now, the 2024 season for Ronel Blanco, it really has not been that rocky. This kid is 30 years old. I say kid at 30 because he doesn't have a whole lot of tread off his tire. But so far, he is the guy that has taken his changeup and he's used it effectively. Ronel Blanco has relied on this. I mean, the stats on his changeup are impeccable. He's used the changeup 379 times this season, and opponents have hit a 163 off of it. So this changeup has really been a game changer for Ronel Blanco. And we know where he is. He has become one of our best, if not really the ace of this ball club this year. Obviously, Hunter Brown's making a bid for that title of ace because he had an amazing June. I anticipate him being awarded June Pitcher of the Month for the American League. There isn't anybody else who had a more solid June, and he's continued that run. And I'm sure into July he will. But innings and innings pitched will become an issue for Ronel Blanco as we get closer and closer to the playoffs, and that is one of the keys for the Houston Astros. If you follow the Houston Astros in the offseason, you'll notice that several players will go to the Lidom, to the Dominican League, where they will play basically an extended spring training or offseason. And Ronel Blanco has an amazing record with Estrellas. He allowed 1 earned run in 47 2/3 innings pitched and a .19 ERA, even better than his career .24 career mark in spring training. But as many coaches like Josh Miller mentioned in previous interviews, he wasn't able to bring that from Estrellas to Major League Baseball. And there was always seemingly to be a gap or just missing something when he got there. He was quoted in The Athletic recently. He said, Ronel's always been the best pitcher on the field in spring training. He's made our opening day roster the 2 seasons prior to this in our bullpen just because of how dominant he was in spring training. Then we get into the season, and I don't want to say the foot comes off the gas or the hitters catch up, but he didn't really carry it over. This year he has. That is the sticking point. Look, he came from being almost an unknown, okay? Under the former scout Ozzo Campo, the Astros made a habit of signing older prospects. The price point for an older prospect from Latin America is a lot lower. Now, typically, if you sign a guy after the age of 16, the bonus money isn't there. The guarantee from the club isn't there. So they really try to sign players young. And then what they do is they put them into their, whether it's Dominican Summer League, they put them in some sort of academy to build them up to get ready to compete with Major League Baseball. And this is from Ronel Blanco. He said that in the Dominican Republic, age is almost more important than talent. And this is another quote from the Athletic article. Some scouts see your age and almost throw you off to the side as if you were too old. It was a blessing from God that scouts Mojica was able to give me the opportunity to be there. Now, this is what's interesting. I don't know if you know this. Whenever he was signed, he was being looked at the same time Julio Rodriguez was being signed. Now, I know Julio Rodriguez is having an off year and everybody's talking down this kid. Pretty sure J-Rod's going to figure it out. The kid's got a lot of talent. He's going through some struggles, and I think Julio Rodriguez turns it around. Now, as an Astros commentator and Astros fan, I don't necessarily would be happy about him turning around against the Astros, but he's got too much talent for it not to be. This episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Book today at Booking.com on the site or get the app today, Booking.com. With summer heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore U.S. cities that you secretly wanted to explore, even if it's not your team, maybe your rival's team. Maybe it's Seattle, maybe it's New York, Chicago, Boston, LA. It doesn't matter. No matter what you look for on Booking.com, they have it, from hotels to bed and breakfast to vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more. Even maybe you can find hotels that are overlooking baseball stadiums. You can find that perfect family vacation. You can find the family-friendly resorts all over the U.S. Just use Booking.com. Why? Because Booking.yeah. He actually signed with Seattle for $1.75 million. Ronel Blanco, and it's been reported before through Space City Home Network, various sources have told us that he was someone who washed cars part-time in his hometown of Santiago. Okay. But what makes him great is that this guy, his fastball touched 95 at the time. He has a 6'3" frame, 210 pounds. When he signed in 2016, he's 50 pounds heavier now, and the strength has helped Blanco hold up as a starter. He had 7 starts for Houston and 13 for AAA Sugarland Space Cowboys. And he basically needed to use his full arsenal to make the breakthrough. And what that meant was trusting that changeup. Ronel Blanco is truly an amazing story in Major League Baseball for the Houston Astros. There have been so much talk about pitcher injuries. He almost gets overshadowed by all the injury talk. And that's why I wanted to do this special report with Ronel Blanco and talk about him. And what I want to talk about next is what Dana Brown said prior to the season and what the Astros players said or are saying about Ronel Blanco. One of the first things that Dana Brown caught on to when he came over to the Houston Astros February 2023 was he felt like Ronel Blanco had basically been cast into the wrong role as a reliever, because what he saw from Blanco, again, like I mentioned before, the big body pitcher, the arsenal that he had, and a kid that he thought could sustain. He said, hey, let's make Blanco a starter. And this is quoting from the Athletic article. He's got clean actions. He's got good stuff, and he's a big physical guy. We can always pull the plug on it if it doesn't look right. Look, when he was plugged in as a starter, as I mentioned at the top of the show right here, again, 8-3 going into Wednesday's start. This kid is seeing a lot of innings. And one of the keys and one of the strategies that the Houston Astros are going to have to employ is how do they get Blanco to the playoffs without being overused? If you remember and recall what Hunter Brown's comments were earlier on in the season, I believe in spring training, he talked about how he didn't realize that when fatigue set in, it altered his mechanics, and thus why Hunter Brown wasn't as dominant as he had been. And even to start the year, Hunter Brown, I mean, the guy had a 9 ERA at one point and now is just steamrolling through lineups consecutively, much like Ronel Blanco. But a lot of times it's not just what a scout says about a player, what a general manager says about a player, but what does the manager, what do the other players think? What do they say? That temperature of a player really is valid. Not that Dana Brown's isn't, not that scouts aren't, but when you hear other teammates validating who you've become, that's a huge confidence booster. And so that's what I want to talk about here in this segment. I'll get to Hunter Brown's comments about him because pitcher for pitcher, I like to hear the position players because look, it is such a key thing to have the confidence of your position players, because I remember growing up as a young baseball player. My father was my coach, and he often would tell me, don't try to strike the batter out. Just those strikes. You have a defense. And when your defense backs you up, it's huge. Chas McCormick was quoted in The Athletic as saying he, meaning Ronel Blanco, has always had the work ethic. And I just thought that he was another righty out of the pen, a little more erratic, didn't throw as many strikes. Now, in 2020, 2021, I thought he was going to be a fringe guy. We were kind of calling him up and sending him down. I did not think he was ever going to be this all-star caliber, this dominant, this lights out at all. Now he knows how to paint, and he's very, very strong. When a player on your team sees your evolution, it's huge. And then we go to his no-hitter. Let me tell you, if you had an opportunity to be at the no-hitter, that was an amazing game. I've actually never seen a no-hitter in person up until that point, so that was kind of nice. But Hunter Brown did say this. Hunter Brown said through 5 2/3 innings, he was like, wow, he may actually get this no-hitter. And he said Blanco has been brilliant this year. He literally said, I didn't move my seat. I didn't get up. I didn't get water. I didn't do anything because I was locked in. And he sat there and watched with pure enjoyment of watching Ronel Blanco throw a 105 pitch no hitter. It must be something special for these players to watch their budding superstar pitcher. I mean, look, he's 30 years old, but gosh, this guy's got 6, 7, 8 years at least. And if he stays free from injury because he's a big body pitcher, that may help him with his durability. The Astros have a huge blessing in the Ronel Blanco era of Houston Astros baseball. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app today and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. If you haven't used Gametime after the many, many times that I've talked about Gametime, today is the day. That's right. Don't worry about whether it's months from now or the game's a few days from now. Go get the tickets. Look, sometimes you can wait until the game is the day before or the day of. I've literally walked up to Minute Maid Park. I can find flash deals, zone deals, all-in-one pricing, seat views, the lowest price guaranteed, the best, most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. And if you find a ticket in the same row in the same section, for a lower price, they will credit you 110% the difference in your account, so you have more money to get more tickets. So download the Gametime app today, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. 2 years ago, if you would have told me there's going to be a Ronel Blanco era possible, I'd be like, well, I mean, I really don't know much about this guy. But this is what's cool. On the same day that he was called up to the club, okay, he threw in an exhibition game versus the Space Cowboys for the Astros, and his daughter was born. So he called it the double blessing. He said, that day, my daughter was born the same day the Astros informed me, boom, you've made it. You're going to be one of our starting pitchers. Just thought that was phenomenal. Ronel Blanco truly is a joy to watch. He's a joy to listen to when he's interviewed. And it's great to see not only the front office, but the pitching coaches and the players as well put their full support behind Ronel Blanco. I had to come in and I had to talk about Ronel Blanco, what he's been doing, just this evolution of an all-star caliber pitcher. And with the Astros clearly knowing and understanding innings limits, they've seen recent pitchers like Hunter Brown fatigue. I believe that they will go get somebody at the all-star break. They've got to get more pitching. It is imperative. You cannot depend on Luis Garcia and Lance McCullers to be a starter in 2024 completely. Justin Verlander, you don't know how long this prognosis, how that's going to affect him. So you possibly have a major hole, especially if JV isn't 100% the rest of the season. It still remains to be known. There's no evidence that I've been shown or read that he's done or won't come back, but how effective will he be? How effective can he be after this? And how careful is he going to play it? But the Houston Astros have a lot going for them. They continue their series in Toronto at the recording of this, and we will continue to watch to see where Ronel Blanco is placed. Does he become the starter of the All-Star game? But is he one of 4 possible All-Stars? Will Kyle Tucker be nominated, even though he probably won't be able to play, which would be a good nod of respect? Jose Altuve, I think, gets in easy, and I think Yordan Alvarez. So you actually have 2 Astros position players, and I believe Ronel Blanco. I love that. Anytime the Astros can be at an all-star game in Arlington over the Rangers, it's a great day. But for myself, for everybody here at Locked On Astros, thank y'all for tuning in to this special edition. I wanted to break in and just talk about Ronel Blanco. Why? Because I think he deserves his flowers. So Ronel Blanco, keep shoving, kid. We are 100% behind you. And as always, go Stros. We'll see you next show.